Hi and welcome to Folklore Extra. Don't make me laugh just before I press record. That's not fair.
I'm going to.
So we're going to go into more depth of the subject that I picked for this week, which was the crying boy portraits, and hopefully try and make a bit more sense of it. And stop staring at me weird.
Luckily, we can go back and edit all of this one.
Well, this is not something we've done before, so we're just going to give it a go and see how it works out and whether anyone actually likes us rambling on like idiots. Go on and hit me with your questions.
All right. So, when you started looking into the crime boy, what was the big thing that jumped out at you? Like, what was it that made you go, "Ooh, that would be brilliant for a podcast"?
Well, I like literature, classic literature, and Dorian Gray obviously springs to mind for me. That's the one thing that kind of jumped out, and it's that premise of something being stuck inside a portrait, and I suppose it's loving all things gothic and horror that goes alongside it of some creepy child stuck in a portrait.
I mean, actually looking at the pictures, it is kind of like, I wouldn't want that in my house. Like, I like skulls. Like around our house, we've got skulls. We've got, there's ram's heads over there. There's like lots of taxidermy and things like that. But I wouldn't necessarily want, this sort of style of painting.
So, when I said that I wanted to go to Hastings, the old part of it where they've got all the antique shops and things, you can pick up all the old Victorian and black and white photographs people haven't claimed. And it's kind of that principle. I want to give them a home.
I mean, there is the case of sort of people buying these photos and trying to give them back to the families, and they're trying to re-find who's in these photos and things like that. But still, if you came home and you just suddenly went, "Hey, I've got this picture," and it's one of these, like, one, get it out of the house. We live in a Tudor property. It's full of wood.
But it'll just add to the existing creatures that live in this house.
True. But we don't need more, especially one that's, sort of bringing pyromania with it as well.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's a step too far. It would be a bit of a shame to burn this house down.
But sort of slating the icon imagery alone like that, like, obviously there was a sort of what was it? Was it the Sun that did the initial piece of it, like pick up the first story of it?
Yeah. So the Sun obviously picked it up first, and the rumor is that the original people that were in the news article, that it was actually a chip pan that caught alight, and they were adamant after hearing the rumors that were going around that it was this portrait and the crying boy in the portrait that caused their house to burn down.
But all that was kind of remade was this uncharred or slightly charred picture.
Yeah. So see, these kind of, that's how the origin of this myth has kind of been created, and this portrait that's left after everything's burnt down, the entire house is gone, and this face down portrait is only slightly charred on the edges. It's like something out of, I don't know, an episode of Supernatural, I suppose, when you're picking up something after all the dust has settled and the emblem is still there, or this mythical weapon is still there. Or,
I mean, could you imagine if it was like in an episode of Supernatural, like the idea is the way they get rid of the cursed item or cursed body is by burning it. So they grab this picture and they set it on fire, it's not burning.
Yeah, it's flame retardant, it ain't going anywhere.
But that it does beg the question of why they didn't burn, and sort of after sort of listening to the going through the script and like listening to your talk, it was one of those things that does stand out, of like the age of the print. These were cheap prints; they weren't the actual paintings themselves. That does come onto another idea in a minute, but
it's the 80s. It was the era of excess, and things were being imported, and that market was really starting to take off, of everything being imported from other countries, and lesser favourable ingredients were sometimes used in certain things.
So that was the thing. Like, were they printed on asbestos, or everyone loved asbestos back in the 80s for everything.
Well, the theory was varnish, and it was some kind of varnish that protected. It was flame retardant somehow.
Well, there has been cases of like that throughout number sort of art galleries and all that. Well, not art galleries, but picture galleries and things where a fire has happened and the painting has been undamaged, thankfully, because the lacquer that they used was like using the cheapest material they could at the time, which was lacquer from ships, which obviously made to withstand the like salt water and things, the harshness and all that. And they just basically created these pictures and slathered it on. I mean, it'd be interesting to get one of those, the little bit of scientists in me to stick it through a mass spectrometer and go, what is in this thing?
Well, it was tested as part of the BBC program that was created about it that I mentioned in the story, that it was tested, and that's how this varnish was the deciding factor at that point, that was protecting the picture, and it must have been something along the lines of ship varnish, I suppose, because mass-produced items, so many reproductions were made, and they were all over Europe and all over the UK, and yet somehow every single time this happened, I mean, there were some stories I didn't even talk about in my version of it, but there was a pizza place that also had one of these pictures in that burnt down. Yeah, I know, looking at me like that, that's just what you want to see when you're eating your pizza.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this lovely pizza, and this child is crying at me. Again.
It's crying over the pineapple debate. That's what it's crying over. But, yeah.
You're going to start a war with that one. The comment's just going to be like,
hey,
how dare you put pineapple?
We're a pineapple and pizza house. That's it. That's the end of it.
At least we're not putting strawberries on them. Or peas.
No peas. No peas.
So, sort of having listened to you going through the actual tale of it, I did find an actual trend with these pictures, and especially notified around like the times.
Yeah.
It all occurred in 1985. September, like I've got the list of them here. There's one in October again, 3 days away from that. So the first one was recorded September 1985.
Yep.
There's a couple more undated, but then next ones, which is the pizza place, was the 21st of October 1985. Then 24th of October 1985, 25th of October 1985. That's really close together considering. Yep. The pizza place was in Norfolk. The others were in South Yorkshire, Merseyside, Leeds, and then it goes to London.
I don't think the artist was going around just doing it because he wanted all of his paintings back. He was annoyed at all of the copies that have been made.
Maybe. It's. But it's still like, I wonder if we had to take a map and see if there is a trail, like, because it's like I said, there is a jump. Sorry, it's the first one was in Yorkshire.
Okay, so Yorkshire, yeah, quite
South Yorkshire, and then the one after that was Surrey, so that's quite a jump. Then it jumps over to Kilburn, so it's a jump back up.
That is a jump.
Yeah, and then Norfolk, South Yorkshire, Merseyside, Leeds, London, Gloucestershire. Again, 1985. Like, I'm not saying sort of that's a weird trend, but the fact that they happen like within consecutively in like a week, 2 weeks of each other.
So that's why you can see that this modern folklore, as it is, has been created, because it's so squished together, but so far apart with all the incidents that have happened. It's not something that could be, I don't know, 3 houses in one street had the picture on the wall and they all burnt down. But it's so many miles apart that, especially at that time, it's not going to be as easy to jump around the country as it is now. True.
And the fact it is so modern, like in 1985, I mean...
Yeah. I think that's one of the other reasons why I picked it, because obviously all the ones we've done so far have been quite old 18th century and even further back than that. And, you know, you've got all those medieval mysteries and stories, and this is 1980s. It's, you know, it's the century that we were born in. And you wouldn't expect some form of folklore to start in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, we have our own ghost stories, like from our own childhood, sort of thing. But to say, like, oh, I've got a folklore story back in the age of 1985, you know, it's great when you sort of, when we look back in the centuries, and like a lot of ours goes back, like some of us to early Saxon period. Like, there's even folk stories going back to 3000 BC. Like the Egyptians have their own folklore, and things like that. And just to sort of, I don't know, do you think one day, like, there's going to be people in the future that are going to go, hey, you know, back in the year 1985, some 300 years in the past, and
most certainly, because we're doing it now.
Well, yeah.
But then, obviously, our history is a lot older than some other countries that have folklore, so we are very lucky, I suppose, in some respects, because we have that huge amount of history that we can access, and all of the mystery and legends and things that come out of it. And, you know, like you were saying the other day about Arthurian times, it's a point in history that you would love to explore. And that is so far back in our period of history compared to how far back, say, America can go with their period of history.
Yeah, I mean, Arthurian, like, to put a pin in it, sort of thing. There's not really a given time. It's believed to be like the end of the sort of the end of the Romans to the Saxon period.
Yeah,
so we're talking 2,000 years ago.
But how much American history and folklore do we have from that period?
I wonder if any of these actually made it abroad, because we've obviously got the sort of the UK stories. But I wonder if there's any, like, I did a quick search and all that. I've not been able to pick anything up, but if there's like any other countries that these have just sort of gone into, or are we going to find in like 20 years' time, someone's going to find an old suitcase in the loft, like you said, in America or somewhere in Germany and all that. And they go, hey, I found this picture, I've hung it up, and then bam, the house sets on fire.
I'm only looked at it from the English point of view, because obviously at the moment we've only really done mainly English predominant subjects with little bits of from around the world as notary points, but I'm sure there is. I mean, the artist himself, his studio burnt down, as I explained, and you know, that's where it comes from with the European aspect, I suppose. But further afield than that, probably.
I mean, obviously, he painted them, and then they went out, and then the fire happened. But do you think there was something that could have been circular around him that kind of cursed down the line?
Well, there is various theories, obviously, that I've included, like the one where one particular painting, the child was nicknamed Diablo, the devil. There is something to do with the different aspect to the varnish from there. You know, there was the other ones where he's nicknamed the series of paintings and the children as a slang for gypsy children. And so why? You know, at the time when that was used, it was clearly shown that they weren't. So why use that kind of element?
Maybe it's just that mystique and that sort of...
I think so. I think because everything was kind of kicking off, so to speak, with people's houses burning down. You know, you can capitalise on it. And it's obviously this selection of paintings have gone on to be his most popular paintings. So any right businessman is going to capitalise on it, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, to say we can destroy the theory that he went around removing the pictures themselves, unfortunately passed away in 1981.
Yeah.
But could it have been from the grave onwards, or...
I mean, it could be that thing of, you know, like the Dorian Gray principle again, I suppose. You can't ever look at the painting because it'll suck your soul. And it might have a similar line to that, I suppose. It might be that Benjamin Button situation feeds the child. Picture away. I don't know.
I mean, if we're going for for the other cultural references and things like that, like especially like cursed paintings like that. I mean, has anybody checked underneath the sewage networks under these houses for like a big river of slime? Like, is this another like Vigo the Carpathian has just coming out of it again? So rather than again the 80s connection there, sort of with Ghostbusters, has Vigo jumped over to and is now portraying through small children crying and burning things down?
Maybe. Oh God, we're just going to start having slime appear through the drains now.
Well, the plus side is you can make it positive. Make it a positive slime. Just obviously don't do what Igor does to it. That's a lot of censorship on that one.
No, I think, it's made worse, probably, because it is a child. If it was, say, a grown man or a boy in his late teens entering, the manhood, would it be as creepy? No, probably not. It's because it's a child. That's what makes it creepy.
Mm.
It's that thing of, if you look at the old creepy pictures of adults, it doesn't bother you as much than if you see a child in a picture.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been the case of throughout any horror genre, the crying child, like you're in a house alone and you hear a child crying, it's going to be instant. Everyone's back gets up, and that's very much fields on our primordial thing of protecting children. So
it's not just the crying of the child as well. It's if you have, the creepy child bath where they're playing.
Oh,
the spirits are playing in the house.
Just even that, like for me, I'm sort of sat there and I hear children cry, it's like laughing or all this, and it's like, what the? Oh, wait, no, there's actual humans in this world. I'm just
But I think it is because it is a child that makes it worse, and we have this protective instinct towards children, and I'm not maternal, but if I hear a child crying, I'm gonna have that inbuilt thing of, why is the child crying? Do they need comfort? If it's a continual cry, that's going to get on your nerves, because as a woman, I'm pre-built to hear that cry as that cavewoman instinct that's built in.
Yeah, I suppose when I hear a child cry, it's to look for the danger. It's that sort of what's causing it, what's going on.
Again, it's that thing that is built into you. Of
fight or flight as well comes in.
The child needs protecting, and if you're going to hear that creepy noise, I get why. But I think the laugh would be worse. That would be creepier.
I mean, in all fairness, if the painting started laughing when they're on fire, then there's something really, really going on with it.
I would agree with the Diablo reference then, if that was happening.
I said this before we started to actually record, and that it was because when you said about the crying boy pictures and all that. Mm-hmm. Now I thought I had one as a kid.
Oh yeah.
So it was I think it was my nan passed on to my mum these two lovely paintings, and they were sort of children with large eyes, but it's more caricature-esque sort of thing of like being on a farmyard, like from a farming stock as well. It worked well for us.
Sounds very twee.
It's very twee, it's absolute cottagecore to the limit. But it was when you mentioned this, I suddenly went, and having never seen these pictures or anything like that, I suddenly went, I think we had to, because we always had, because there was a story amongst these two pictures. In fact, they were passed down, and they were rescued out of a house fire. Yeah,
that kind of fits, but I see where you're going.
Yeah, so I was like, instantly, I just got my back up saying, did we have one of these things? But went back and actually, the painting was completely different. It was all done by, these were oil paintings on wood, caricatures, rather than these, the actual, sort of the style of the crying boy portraits and that. Yeah. So I instantly panic over, but then it was one of those, we still have that little bit about our own family had these two pictures.
Yeah.
And it's like, there seems to be like a growing trend. And I'm just wondering, like, maybe other people have had something very similar.
I can assure you I have not. My family didn't have that kind of thing.
Well, it may be other people out there, those that are sort of listening into this, like they may have stories themselves, like saying like there was a house fire and there was, you know, there was a picture or paintings and all that. Like
Maybe.
so it's like in a house fire, like one of the first things we always had planned, like say we lived in an old building, we used to live in a caravan type thing. So if it sets on fire, what's the first thing you grab, excluding the cat? And it was always grab the family portrait, grab the photo albums. Everything else can burn to dust, but the photo albums were the key ones because they cannot be
I think that's probably where it's the cultural differences, because obviously my upbringing was completely different to yours. So it wasn't so much my family had paintings and things like that.
Oh no, we didn't have paintings. I mean, we had these wood carvings. I mean, like my great granddad was a painter. My granddad was a painter.
Yeah, we didn't have anything like that. My family worked more with their hands, so it was the carpentry and things like that. And
it was the same here, where they just happened to have very good side hobbies and things as well for it.
I think, to be honest, if the house was burning down, my nan would always scream, grab the jewellery, to be honest, and get out. That was the most valuable thing to them.
Fair enough.
Than anything else.
Yeah. Of course, everything now will be a case of just grab the PC, because that's got all the photos and everything on it now. Everything loaded up.
But you have it all on your phone as well now.
True, but still, there's a lot. The hard drive's full of the ones I haven't uploaded or done anything with, and hours of recording material.
I don't know. I think PC would probably be out third down the list for me. There's a few other things that I'd be grabbing first. I'm not mentioning them for a specific reason.
Hat, pipe, beard, go.
I don't know. I'll refer to it as I will be reaching for my boomstick first. That's the one I'm taking first.
I've got a photo of me and all that where it was taken of like the vitals of running out of the house, house fire. And it was a picture of me and my cat in one hand, cup of tea in the other one, and a sandwich in my mouth.
Harley would have gone. She'd be outside laughing at us.
She probably would have started it.
True. She is a bit sketchy. I think we should explain at this point, because Harley has never been mentioned. Harley is a feral cat that I took in. I'm going to call her a cat, but she's more like a cat that identifies as a pigeon by the noises that she makes.
You might hear her in a bit or something walking where she is walking around.
Kriss does like to just kind of stroke her just to set her off whenever she's near.
I want it as a, like, when you get a message or something, that's just to pop up with a... It's the bad impression I can give her.
Yeah, Harley would have gone. She's got street smart. She'd be out the door.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting off track.
Yeah, it's always one of those things, but it was that weird connection. Like the moment you said it, I was like, I think we had one of these. And I was like, oh no, we had a different kind of weird thing going on.
No, ADHD tunnel, and we've gone down it.
So the actual painting themselves, like if you actually get a chance to like have a look at them, go online. Like I don't like to discredit like artists, anybody puts any effort into it or any style into art, like like that, and they are. I'd say they're pretty good.
They are. They're for typical non-expressionist portraits. They are very nice portraits. Minus the crying.
Yeah. I mean, it was said, the idea is that he used local children as the models. Like, did he make them cry, or do you think it was just get them to pose and then kind of imprint the expression onto them?
There was a theory that maybe he used local orphans. So I'm being, I don't know, more theoretical here. So I suppose orphans, if it's from local orphanage, might not exactly be the happiest child in the world. Might have a bit of an upset face. I reckon he probably just added them in at the end.
He must have done, like, the amount of time it takes to paint a life portrait. It's like, you must cry for 4 hours straight.
Yeah, he's not going to sit there with a stick, just keep poking the child, going, cry.
No. But I would recommend have a good look at them like that, and also just have a look around your house to see if you've got one.
It's the attic. It'll be the creepy one in the corner of the attic.
But the other thing is like, are they still in circulation? Like, there must be like some people out there still have them, because obviously the last reported case of this was 1985,
Yeah.
as I've said. Then it stops.
So in part of doing the research, there was a paper article that I came across that wasn't from the Sun, and it was a small paper that called for all local residents to send in their copy of the pictures because they wanted to destroy them, because of all of this had kind of blown up to such an extent with, urban folklore, and it was the call for a bonfire of all the paintings.
If in doubt, we don't know what's going on, let's set fire to it. There's a running theme through history on this.
But I
subject.
see a huge flaw with their plan. They don't burn.
I mean, hot enough, anything burns. So a bonfire, but then a house fire.
That's what I mean.
Your couch sets on fire. You're looking at over 1,000 degrees.
The temperature of burning house with everything that will go up, especially, sofas going up and electrical items exploding, that will create extra heat, and they're still not burning a single portrait of it. What makes them think that just a pile of them, they're gonna, create enough heat just to melt a whole pile?
I mean, could you imagine it? They did the burning of it, and apparently they got like models in and did some pictures of it and stuff like that. Could you imagine like this big artifact? They've done a huge bonfire, they're all cheering it, and at the end of it, they go through the ash and they're all immaculately laying there.
Yeah.
Like at that point, would you start them boxing it up and throwing it into the ocean, or would you like bury it as deep as possible, wrapped in chains?
If you throw it into the ocean, it would just come back with the tide.
Or just the ocean sets on fire.
You could do kind of the mob tactic, I suppose, of just wrap it and sink it to the bottom of the ocean, but then it still might get loose somehow.
Yeah. I mean, part of me, there's the toss up that is, the dynamics of my life. I am an engineer, a scientist, but I also have that sort of the love of the supernatural and the unknown. Yeah. So part of me, like, because it's so modern, we could take these pictures and go, oh, it's actually the varnish because we can do it. And there's so many things throughout history we can't do that with, because either the document is so well preserved that we don't want to burn it, because you should be burning history anyway. But I still love the idea that there was just something about this that just
caused this mass hysteria.
But it's not just the mass hysteria, it's the fact that they all happen consecutively very close to each other. Like, if it was like 10 years apart or 5 years apart, maybe you go, okay. But the fact is that like 3 of them happened within 3-4 days of each other.
If this had happened in America, do you think it would have got to such a huge deal as it? Obviously, we are such a small country in comparison. I don't think it would have been such a folklore and, got the status that it has if it was over there. Because
yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Because if it was like, if you had one that was in Missouri, then one that happened in Texas, one that happened in Alaska,
Yeah, so far apart.
The sort of the correlation or anything would not, spring to mind unless you had a very, 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 very particular investigator who suddenly went, weird pictures.
It's just the fact that, the Sun obviously distributes to the whole country. So
unfortunately,
it was able to completely cover every single story. It wouldn't have been able to do that as easily in a country as big as USA.
No.
So if it was something that had happened over there, I really don't think that it would be the folklore that it has turned into.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd love to actually go and see if there's any that have made their way abroad, if they're still existent, if they're... I mean, these were the prints. If you
track one down, can I have one in the house?
No.
I'll put it in a flame retardant box.
It's not the box that's worried about, it's the house.
I did just think that, that wasn't going to work as soon as I said it.
But these were prints. What happened to the originals?
Yeah, so the prints were obviously recreated, but as I said, the artist studio burnt down.
So the originals are gone?
I haven't been able to find a definitive answer on that one.
There's I mean, yeah.
So there could still be some in existence, but the prints weren't even done by him. They were done by another person. So
Did the other person's house burn down? You know, there's the question.
Yeah, there is still a lot of questions that require a lot more research than I had time to do within a week. But I don't know. I think I might try and keep digging to see if I can find an answer.
And maybe there's going to be, come across, like you've said, things like Dorian Gray, we've had Vigo the Carpathian. There's all the other. Is there other paintings or pictures out there that have exactly the same thing that's gone on with them?
Maybe.
Right? We know what we're going to be doing.
Does this mean we're going to do a follow-up episode?
Oh, of course, everything gets followed up eventually. Did we find anything? Did we find anything? Yes, no, maybe. I mean, it's just ticking that little box for me where I'm just going to go, you know what?
Down the rabbit hole.
Let's go down the rabbit hole and see what we find, see where we can end up, and what it could actually lead to.
Going down the rabbit hole is the problem and the reason why this even started. Just go down the rabbit hole and see what happens.
Yeah.
And now we're doing this.
I mean, yeah, just as we've been talking, I'm just flicking through, trying to find websites. There's a lot of references to, to these prints.
But not the originals.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you type in cursed portraits.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me do that one again. Yeah. Okay, apparently I've got a cursed Porsche crop up. All right.
That dyslexia striking again.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Cursed painting sells for more than £1,600 after twice being returned to the owner.
£1,600? Is that it?
Different portrait. A cursed portrait of a little girl has been twice returned to the charity shop for being haunted. Painting went viral after a picture in East Sussex charity shop said on the with a warning sign saying "She's back."
East Sussex.
Yeah.
Which charity shop is this?
I
want to go find it. It's not far.
Hastings Advice and Representation Centre in August, but this was an article back in 2023, so it still might be there. But there goes another cursed painting, which apparently people have said were haunted. They purchased it, and then after purchasing it, they were chased by an unidentified black figure and took the painting back to the shop.
Do you think that kind of took origins from, what is that film called? The one where the girl crawls out the TV.
Oh, The Ring?
Yeah. Potentially.
I mean, that originally was a cursed scroll, which they turned into a videotape for the movies, but the original story was a scroll. If you read the scroll, you have 7 days, and after that, your deepest fear will come and collect you, effectively. It's like one of the spirits would come and collect you, and it's often depicted as something that you gravely feared, which they, obviously for everyone on the screen, they had to portray as the sort of the long hair, childlike figure coming through the TV and things like that.
Yeah.
Also, just flicking through, just changed slightly. I'm flicking through cursed portraits. Instantly, that one of King Charles was cropped up. Again, the Vigo, the Carpathian, styled.
That was done so well, though.
Yeah,
I did like that.
I mean, that was the portrait. I'm just showing the actual picture of.
Okay, so typical, what did you say, 50s, 60s dress?
Yeah.
Little girl with a brown bob. It's kind of boring. It's not as good as a crying little boy or, old Victorian person that no one's claimed.
Apparently, just a quick search through. The crying boy crops up, the hands that resist him. There are a few.
There are a few still left.
No, I mean of cursed and haunted pictures and paintings. Portrait of Henrietta Nelson. Supposedly reported her face in the painting kept changing, and a pale figure with identical clothing would be walking around the grounds of those who possessed it.
Yeah, but we had the face that kept changing in the window.
Oh yeah, that was weird. I mean, I've got the photo. Even the photos kept changing it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what prompted the boggart.
Oh yeah, the
discussion.
Oh, here's a good one. The portrait of Bernardo di Galvanes, painting stately gentleman like that. It looks, sort of the normal sort of gentleman standing there. But when you do flash photography on it, it reveals a skull.
I've heard of that one before.
According to, you must ask polite permission of
That's
the ghost,
it.
or else the photo will be ruined upon development.
Yep.
That's the digital age for you now, isn't it? You like that.
There's no more of taking your soul if you take a photo.
There's, you know what? We're going to do a whole more section on this thing. There's a lot of them.
So we've got to do more cursed paintings.
More cursed paintings.
Okay. Maybe not quite yet. We'll spread them out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we've got other subjects that we're going to do at the moment.
Yeah, and it's not even just it. They're from all over the place as well. Cool. Paintings based on a photo taken by James. There was one, a newer one from 1994. But I'm not going to say what it is because that's going to be an awesome one to do.
You've gone down the hole.
Oh yeah, I'll start prattling away and stuff. Oh, it's this and this, and then it's going to, I won't have any more to talk. You get to the next sort of the next discussion point. I'll be sitting there going, I've already said everything.
We've been waffling for like 36 minutes.
I would say it's been an enlightening discussion. I mean, 36 minutes for me rambling is quite good.
True. So we often kind of sit here and have in-depth discussions going down rabbit holes on certain things, whether it's history, mythology, anything like that, or
Pogo the Clown. Sorry,
I was going to sit there and say something nice like political ideology.
Yeah, sorry. There's one cursed painting of Pogo the Clown.
I have heard of Pogo the Clown.
Sorry, that was my outburst. Carry on.
But yeah, we thought maybe having discussions like this on the different topics that we're choosing, because we're trying to do alternate weeks of who chooses a topic, whilst we figure out what to do with the channel. All we know is that we both are very interested in folklore. Different reasons, I think. Yeah,
I mean, it may like for some people, like they tune into things and it's like, oh, these instant skeptic, they're going to poo-poo it, they're going to dismantle it. Like I like seeing both sides of the argument. So I love the stories. It's what countries are built upon, what family stories are all about.
Yeah.
Some of it may be scientific explanation, but like I said, we both have this mindset. There is science, but there's also stuff that just is weird, cool, but weird.
I'm more pagan based in my beliefs, not Wicca pagan. I'm being specific on that. So I have more gods, goddesses, folklore, mythology, all of that stuff that goes with those sorts of things. And, doing the episode that I did on the Black Shuck and discussing this, Jack of Kent with the dealings with the devil, and it's all the different religious iconography and pathways, I think, are the things that make me most interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's because of the Black Shuck, and it's sort of when you said big black dog, I was like, oh, there's a lot more. There's a lot of black dogs in that, but we can discuss that one a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Sort of later on and all that, but yeah, for me, like I keep an open mind for absolutely everything, because there's just some things you can't explain, some things that are cool, and some things I just don't want to explain because I want it to remain cool.
Yeah, that's a valid way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back and do another one of these on our next subject, which is going to be Chris's choice. So we'll see how that goes, and that'll be next week.
To give you a hint, it's a really big hint. Jenny, green teeth.
You've just spoiled it now.
Yeah, but if you don't get, I can't disguise it any other way. It's it's going to be one story that I absolutely love.
I think this is helping a lot more. Where obviously it took a few episodes for me to even attempt braving the microphone, and I know that you don't mind because you are quite happy to stand up and project your voice and tell stories and act and everything else. That's not me. So
there has been a microphone problem with the fact that I project across a room. I'm being very, very.
I've told him to be quiet.
Yeah, very, very contained.
I think I'm more soft spoken compared to you anyway, so it's just proven a little bit difficult. But hopefully, it's come out okay for first attempt anyway at one of those.
Yeah, hopefully everyone will join back in, continue us on like that. I think the big one as well is I'd love to hear people say like, "Oh, I've heard this legend," or no, it's hear their stories of like they had a portrait in their house, or they've had a painting in their house, or something, or a piece of china that just actually won't break.
I wonder if anyone listens to this and actually still has one.
Oh, that'll be interesting. If you do, please drop us a message. Take it out to the garden shed first. Send us a message like that. We'd love to hear about it on that. But yeah, any other legends or myths or folklore as well. If you want to hear more information or things like that, do let us know. Like, I'm happy to talk through absolutely any subject on that matter.
I think this is kind of like a world is our oyster doing this. So we'll just see how it goes. There are hundreds of different subjects to choose from. So you just got to pick. Okay, I think that's about us done for this episode. I hope you enjoyed joining us for Folklore Extra, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. I've noticed that approximately 96% of you guys are not subscribed that listen to the channel so far, so please be sure to subscribe. It would really help us grow. Anything you want to say before I switch off?
I was going to shout pogo again, but I think I'll leave that. But thank you all very much. Like that, I look forward to hearing from everybody. And, well, let the rambling begin.
Oh, God. Bye.
Bye.